Welcome to the Char Chit Chat, a podcast exploring all things biochar related, coming to you from a small sheep and tree farm in the deep south of New Zealand. All right, thanks for joining me, Raymond. I'd like to start by asking, who is Raymond Dobbe?
Raymond Dobbe is now 56 years old, crikey. And I have the youngest of an immigrant family. And yeah, we've just been grafters and workers. I don't profess to be an academic or anything like that. I'm a bit of a grafter, I guess. I wasn't so clever at school, but I ended up being quite a good motorcycle mechanic and did very well at that, actually. And then worked for Yamaha in New Zealand and things, and then decided to become self-employed from the age of 22, and while still working at Yamaha, and then that self-employment got bigger, and by the time I was 25, I had myself a freehold house and some money in the bank, and decided to go sell that business and go traveling. So I did a year of cruising around and learning more things, and then I got into delivering and assembling office furniture, and then that business grew, and in 2003 had just under 50 staff and 28 vehicles. Sold that. In 2004 started another business, vowed never to have more than 20 staff. Sold that business in 2020 with 70 odd staff, 3 branches and 3 different brands as well, and in logistics, transport and logistics. Just sold that when I lost my purpose in that business after going through a separation and things, and so here we are now in 2000, at the end of 2025, the end almost, isn't it? So yeah, I'm getting serious with a couple of projects. My goal after selling the other businesses was to create businesses for good, businesses that created good and did good. And it took me a while. I had a couple of failed starts and good ideas, but I just partnered with people that didn't match my vision, and they didn't really take off that well. But now I've got a couple of different things, which for me is creating solutions for environmental issues with a carrot rather than a stick. And so, I stumbled across biochar a few years ago when trying to think of a solution in Blenheim for all of their grape marc issues. They've got a lot of wasted grape marc there, which could pose to be a problem, and also restricts them with being able to develop a bit more of their land. And biochar was suggested, and I didn't know much about it, so I've been learning since. And it just seems to be such an amazing product, and it's organic, and people can make it themselves, or in a commercial environment, it becomes so beneficial to the country in lots of different applications. So I've sort of decided to stick with that, and I've gone down the route of bringing biochar out of the wilderness, where it appears to have been poo-pooed a bit, and making it available, trying to help make it more available for some real good climate solutions.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's me. I'm no longer married, unfortunately, after 25 years, and 2 grown kids, and I live in the North Shore of Auckland. Love it here. Built this house 21 years ago, and really, I love motorcycle riding. I do a lot of that. Caravanning. Yeah.
Okay. So can you remember when it was that you first heard about biochar?
It was a few years ago. Only about 3 years ago was the first time I heard it. And when we were trying to create a solution or think of a solution for the grape marc down in Blenheim, and also at the time there was a whole heap of issue with New Zealand king salmon having a lot of mortality fish, and what can we do with the mortality fish mixed with grape marc, creating phenomenal organic fertilizers and things, and we kind of thought to ourselves, well, maybe we can make a really good fish fertilizer and incorporate biochar in it as well. And for regenerative growers and farming and things like that, as an alternative for urea use and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's been a huge learning curve, because I'm a mechanic by trade, And then I went into logistics for a long, long time. So I don't profess to be amazingly clever at biochar at all. But what I'm trying to do is join the dots so we can create solutions with biochar.
Okay.
With my network and with my entrepreneur background and the bit of money that I got.
We'll get to the business side of things soon. Can I ask you first, if a stranger asks you what biochar is, what do you tell them?
I tell them it's an amazing organic product that is hugely beneficial to enhance fertilizers and becomes a great communicator in the soil biome, holding up to 5 times its own weight in water and nutrients, and becomes a communicator in the soil and a feeder of the soil, all whilst sequestering carbon. I just tell them it's just the most amazing organic product. Over 18,000 scientific papers written on it now. So it was obviously getting some huge attention.
Yeah. All right, well, why don't you tell us about your business? Because for some people, they would have no idea what your business is and what you're trying to do. So give us an overview of when you started and what it's about.
So this business is called BiocharTP, which is a play on terra preta, the origins of biochar. And so we've got 2 different initiatives at the moment. One of them is a solution for forestry and wilding pines. That machine's called a char curtain. So that's a really rugged machine which can go into the bush and can convert woody waste / any form of woody waste, or wilding pines, and can convert that into biochar, a valuable product of biochar. And right now, the cheapest you can buy biochar commercially in New Zealand is about $5,000 a tonne right now. And so, if we can make a tonne every 2.5 hours with this machine that uses 6 litres of diesel in the machine an hour, but you do need a digger to load it and an operator. There is the opportunity with this machine for forestry owners and forestry harvesters to be incentivized to clean up their slash, which is my goal. So, they should be able to make $1 million a year net out of this machine. Mm-hmm. And so that seems to me like a bloody good reason not just to leave slash behind, but actually go process it and make biochar. And that's by the way, is with a price, selling the price of biochar at $1,000 a tonne. So that's that side of the business. That machine could also do woody mass for councils. Currently, I think Auckland Council has 265,000 tonnes of woody mass that goes through their transfer stations that ends up in waste management's tip landfill. Seems like a waste to put that sort of stuff into a landfill when it could become fantastic biochar. Landfills are hard to get past the goalpost and they fill up. So if we could separate out 265,000 tonnes a year from going into landfill, it's going to make that landfill last longer. So that's that business. The other side of our business is we've developed an animal food supplement that we call Carbon Kai that reduces methane in our lab where we're recreating the rumen environment with fresh rumen juice fluids that we're keeping alive for a week or so. And we're reducing methane in the rumen by 58%. We're really excited about that product. Been a bit hard to get past the goalpost with New Zealand officials because ultimately I think our government wants a vaccine or a bolus. A bolus is a vessel that you have to shove down the cow's throat or the sheep's throat. And they're having huge success with it, but I'm not sure if a farmer really wants to shove something down a cow's throat every 3 or 6 months. So our product is a daily feed supplement. And in the dairy herd, that's really simple because they're going into the milking sheds twice a day anyway. And we'd feed them about a percent of their daily intake or just over. So maybe 120 grams or something a day. And not only does it reduce methane, but it also increases productivity of the cow because it gets in there, and in real layman's terms, it gets in there and competes against the methogens and pathogens in there that are breaking down the food to break down that food more efficiently. So cows get extra growth, dairy cows get extra milk, litres of milk and higher protein. Worms are excreted out with the biochar as well. And when they're excreting out the biochar, And biochar, by the way, cannot be induced into blood, so it stays in that digestive system. So when you're excreting out the biochar, you're sequestering carbon into the soil. So it's a massive win-win. So those are the two products currently with the company BiocharTP.
Yep.
Both of them.
Your feed supplement, is it just 100% char, or is it char mixed with other ingredients?
No, we call it a carbon-coated mineral, which is like a second-generation biochar, where we're mixing minerals with the char before we're cooking it.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, it has various organic minerals in it as well.
So is it a bit of a trade secret exactly what you put in with the wood mass when you fire it? Is that a bit of a trade secret that you guys have come up with?
Yes, it is, yeah. Well, it's cost a lot. In 2022, I went to Wellington up and down for 6 months and tried to get some funding out of the SURF fund, the Climate Emergency Response Fund. And it was just 6 months of my life I wasted, and I'll never get back. It was so frustrating because we had this concept that we knew, there's a bunch of studies on feeding biochar or activated charcoal to cows. But there's one really good one out of the South Queensland University that was really tickled our fancy. And we knew that if we developed that further, because they were just using activated carbon, and they were getting some good results. They were getting a 30% to 40% reduction, depending on the trial, just from a straight product. So we knew if we developed the product more and put other things into it, we could probably get a better result, which we have. And we've tested their product alongside our product in our lab, and it does perform much better. But unfortunately, I couldn't get any money out of SURF. So a good friend of mine and I set up our own lab and have been and have employed a scientist, and we've been working on that together. The lab, when I say lab, it's not something Douglas Pharmaceuticals would think was a lab. It's 2 shipping containers and a mobile office pod that we've got a whole heap of expensive gear in, and we don't walk around in white coats or anything like that, but it's our lab and it's what we can afford to do. But the scientific background and the scientific way it's all done is extremely good, and with a lot of good foundation in it.
Yeah, great. And
so we've now got it to a point where we can do a herd trial. And like I said, I couldn't get the funding, but it looks like we've got funding via an iwi who happens to have a surplus of funding from MPI that they said that they could help us out with. So that's how it's great.
So you are going to do a proper scientific trial?
Yeah, with LIC and with Ag Research. Yes, I think it's between $500,000 and $600,000 worth of trial that will be funded via MPI, but via an iwi, because it's all organic, right? It works. I made the mistake of making the project too big, because my goal with that is not only creating a solution for methane with a carrot, because we think we can sell it to a farmer for 25 cents a day per cow, and the return from that would be about 75 cents at least, because of extra production of the cow. So that's the carrot side. But from an iwi's holistic perspective, we need to have that made in rural environments near the source. So if there is an iwi or a hapu out there that has a forestry stand, they could multiply their earnings from that stand exponentially. One example we did, that particular hapu were going to net about $3.9 million out of their stand of trees after 28 years of growing. If they had a production facility making carbon kai for us, that would end up being about $240 million, employing 19 of their hapu in the business. So it's providing jobs, it's bringing all that money in over 20 odd years into their region. We'd need about 50 machines for the New Zealand dairy herd, so that would be 25 manufacturing sites to do the New Zealand herd with the product. And so imagine all of that money going into those rural environments, creating employment and creating hope and creating learning and creating wealth in those regions for more education and getting people, it would be amazing.
Yeah. All right. And do you feel like you really need to have the trial to help promote the product, or You don't think that it's possible just from farmers telling their friends and telling other farmers, hey, this is working and I don't need any kind of academic science that says it works. I know it works because I can see the results directly. Do you feel like you have to go through the science?
Yeah, we're doing it for a bigger reason than just selling product and making money. Money's a secondary thing, and it'll come when we do everything right. Our goal is to create a solution with a carrot for our methane issue for farmers. When we first kicked this off, we were under the Labor government, and farmers were extremely concerned about what they were going to impose on farmers for mitigating emissions from their farm. There was a massive concern about, because we had a target of 30% by 2030, which now with the national government's changed, but we could go out and make this and peddle it along and sell it and make money. But ultimately, we need it validated by the officials as a real product that they recognize. And therefore, we can take it forward and scale it because it's been recognized as a real solution for farmers' emission control.
Okay. Yep, no, that makes sense. Could you tell us a little bit more about the machine? Can you give us a physical description of what it is, how big it is, and how it works, and all that kind of thing?
Sure. At the moment, I've just got a prototype, which me with my ultimate optimism, I thought we'd pull it out of the workshop and it'll be perfect from day one, but it has been certainly not that. There has been so much stuff that we didn't know. So we've done a lot of modifications on it. But essentially what it is, it's a machine that is about 7 meters long, 3.2 meters tall, and 2.5 meters wide. And this is our prototype. That size will be our small machine, and we'll have a big machine. This one will process about 5 ton of pine / an hour, and our big machine will do about 13 ton an hour. So essentially it's got a diesel engine at the front that drives hydraulic pumps, but mainly it drives a huge fan. Other than that, then we've got a big insulated fire pit, and in this one, the inside dimensions of the fire pit are 4.3 meters long by 1900 wide, and the burning part of the pit is about 1600 tall, or just over 1700 tall. So it's, I think, is it 13 cubic meters or something of a pit. And so we can feed that. It doesn't have a lid. The lid of this machine is a high volume of air called an air curtain. And so air curtains were developed by a company in Florida 28 years ago, and they've been hugely successful. And they burn their product down to waste. So around the time of Cyclone Gabriel here, when all of those horrible images of all that slash going down through the rivers and things, taking out bridges and people dying and people losing their livelihood and all that, I thought, well, what can we do? Why can't we create a solution for the slash? So I went to that company in Florida and asked them if they could lift their air curtain up and put a grate under it and then some augers underneath it, and we could auger it out the char before it becomes ash. So they get less than 1% output, whereas we're looking to get sort of between 8 and 10% output of biochar. So essentially, this air curtain that they developed is hugely efficient. So it creates an invisible lid. So we're feeding the fire. We've got a fire at the bottom, just pine burning on its own. And then this high volume of air gets pushed across the top from left to right of the machine, of the lid, and creates an invisible lid. So the fire's burning, the smoke rises up, the smoke gets trapped by the lid, the smoke heats up and gasifies, and then we burn the gas off. So we've got over 1,000 degrees at the top of this machine. After the air curtain's done, the air's done its job as a curtain, it folds down into the fire and over-oxygenates the bottom fire. So that's at 600 odd degrees. So we've got 2 fire fronts, and then we have the embers falling through a grate at the bottom, being augered out, hydraulically augered out, and quenched at the back of the machine to become biochar. And then that char goes onto a travelator, up a travelator through a crusher, so we can crush it to whatever size people want. We can separate out at that point anything metallic, any nails or anything that might have been in the wood. That gets separated out by a magnet, and then it drops into a 1,000-litre bag. So so essentially, if you think about the size a little bit bigger than a 20-foot shipping container, the front end's an engine bay, the back end's an open fire pit. and it has a invisible lid that gets blown across the top of it.
And what is the main insulation that you talked about?
So yeah, it's got some really expensive insulation actually. The insulation it's a refractory that we had to import from the States. A company in the United States developed this refractory, and it's got a proprietary product in it, about 8% of their proprietary product, that makes it go ridiculously hard once it's cured. And so we can't grind it now that it's all cured. So we brought it in a powder form, and we cast it with 9% water only, and we created our own molds and cast these refractory panels that go up the side. And it's heavy. That's 6.5 ton worth of refractory, quite high in the machine. So that stuff now that it's cured, can handle a beating from a log being dropped on it, and it can handle up to 1600 degrees in temperature. It's really strong.
So it should last quite a long time, and it means that you're not having metal, degrading away from the high heat and high oxidation. So
metal. We've got metal in the base underneath that. We've got the fire grate at the bottom of that stuff, and then all the embers fall into a metal, very steep V, because it's a phenomenal how steep you have to have it so it falls. If it won't fall at 45 degrees. You'd think it would, but it can hold up. So we've got quite a steep angle underneath of steel, and then at the base of that steel we've got our 2 augers that auger the char to the back of the machine.
Yeah. Have you built the whole machine from scratch, or did you import a machine and then modify it?
No, everything's from scratch. We've even built our own crusher, which has a magnet in it. We built ourselves. The air fan, the huge fan, we built that ourselves. Everything's been built by hand, except for it's got a brand new 50 horsepower Caterpillar engine in it. And the hydraulic pumps and motors, obviously, we bought, but everything else has been built by hand in a very small workshop. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
It's quite a big beast. If you go onto biochartp.co.nz, you'll see an image of it.
Yeah, but it will still fit on a normal truck that can carry a normal container and with a crane and lift it on, or do you need a special truck?
Initially, so we built this one to be able to be moved around by a rubbish hook bin truck. Those big hook bin trucks that pick up 30 cubic meter bins. But as it turned out, the weight, because the engine bay is quite light and that refractory is really heavy, and the refractory is high up in the machine, it was too heavy over the back axles of that 8-wheeler hooker bin truck and too high. So it was, there was a risk of rolling it and stuff. Not ideal. So we now we transport it on the back of a low loader transporter, and we've now also put, because we already had a motor on it and pumps, we've put self-raising legs. So the machine, where you pull out legs like a higher crane stabilizer legs, we pull those out from on all 4 corners, and utilizing the existing pumps in the motor, we lift the machine up in the air and then reverse a trailer under it and drop the machine down onto a trailer. So that's how you'd get it to site. And then underneath it's got a massive big skid plate, so you can pick the front up with a digger and drag it from pile to pile while it's still running.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's very robust. Like it's built like a brick shit house. It could be rolled over, it could be bashed, it's built really tough because forestry conditions are pretty tough. So
yes. Tell us about the testing that you've done with it so far.
We've done all sorts of different testing. Some of the most significant stuff was with really high temperature to push it, and we ended up overheating the hydraulic oil. And there's just been so much learning, stuff that we didn't know. And I'm not a heat engineer or anything like that, so we've made some what we now think of as silly mistakes, novice mistakes, but it's just been a whole year of lots of learning. I've just come back from Gisborne, where the Gisborne Council asked us to come down there and demonstrate it to them. We were burning slash that had been on the beach for 3 years, so it was rotten. And some of that slash, before Cyclone Gabriel and it coming down onto the beach, was sitting on another bank somewhere else for a few years before the big weather event. So some of the stuff was rotten. And because it's been on the beach, it was full of sand. So that was quite interesting, burning that stuff, because it's rotten, it's dry, every crevice of the wood had sand in it. So we've got all the sand, black sand going through the machine. All of the modifications we've done so far worked perfectly, and we proved to them that it burns clean. I've got videos of it going at full noise with fire raging inside it, and all you see is heat shimmering off the top. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. But what we didn't get from it was the yield we wanted, and I had rushed down there a bit because we'd done all these mods and I hadn't finished hooking up the shaking floor, the shaking grate. But after doing a bit more research, we've actually decided that our fire grate at the bottom is too small. So we're building a fire grate with bigger holes, as well as sorting out the shaking floor that I hadn't connected before going to Gisborne. And every time we've done testing, we've learnt lots and we've modified it, and the results have been phenomenal. So now the next big thing is modifying the floor. Yeah, so we just ended up with too much ash and not enough biochar.
Sounds like a fun project. Who else have you got working with you?
In a past life, I had this engineer who built me a fork hoist that was road registered and did 100 miles an hour for a self-storage business I started. And he's a really, really clever engineer, old school engineer, draws things on paper. And anyway, he's 73 and retired and was bored shitless. So after going around all sorts of fantastic engineering companies with really clever 3D CAD engineers and not getting anywhere with them trying to get excited about it or understanding what I was trying to create, I went back to him, and he hadn't heard of biochar before either, but he really loved the challenge and the idea of it. And so, yeah, he and I have been working on it for 2.5 years. So he's the clever engineer, I'm the lackey. His hips and knees are a bit buggered, so if he needs something, I leave him on the ground and go get it. Yeah. Cool. And but it's been amazing. So we're at the point now where we're almost ready to reverse engineer our current prototype, reverse engineer it, and we want to put it into a 3D CAD environment so we can then make up our production model. We'd love to have a machines ready for sale by October 2026.
Okay. How was the feedback at field days this year?
Yeah, feedback at field days was great. By the end of field days, 28 different people that were really interested. Since then, I've been to the Wilding Pines conference in Twizel, where the feedback was amazing. One station said they want 2 of them once I get it sorted. Wilding Pines in New Zealand are a massive opportunity for biochar because it's a massive problem for New Zealand that a lot of people just have no idea. There's tens of thousands of hectares which are now redundant that cannot be found anymore because the Wilding Pines are taking over. The government's got no money. There was one example where the government spent a shit ton of money clearing a farm, a station down there, an area of a station. But 3 years later, when we went to visit it only a few weeks ago, it all had young trees all over it again because they had enough money to fell them, but they didn't have any money to do maintenance. So where this machine in that environment would be amazing is, it could be a really profit-making company to go and get rid of Wilding Pines and turn it into biochar. Anyway, so I went to that, and a lot of great feedback from that. I also went to the Residue to Revenue conference in Rotorua, and that was really successful as well, with another man coming up to me saying he wanted 2 of them. So I've got a bunch of people that want the machine, but we're doing lots of testing and a bit of modifications. We can't get it out there green, but we're getting closer.
Right.
And it is exciting, but it's also extremely tiring. And sometimes I have to catch myself with my bottom lip out thinking, more learning. It's lovely to learn. It keeps you alive. But sometimes you think, I want to have a few more wins. It's not easy. It's a lot harder than you think. I mean, people look at it now. To make something so simple is really, really hard. So we've created a machine that looks ridiculously simple, and it is. But to get to that point is really, really hard. And I've spent a lot more time than I thought this machine would have been, out there doing it sort of 18 months ago. But it's just taking so much time and so much money.
Yeah. I was interviewing Trevor Richards last time, And something that did come up was more tricky wastes, such as, if there was a disease outbreak and they had to cull 100,000 sheep or 100,000 cattle, what would you think about it? Would your machine be able to handle that kind of biomass, do
Yeah.
you think?
So yes, I'm absolutely certain our machines could handle an outbreak like that. In fact, one of the people who have put their hand up to buy a machine want to burn chickens. So yeah, there's and the whole chicken industry is huge, and there's a lot of mortality chickens that need to be disposed of, and they will burn pretty good. They're full of fat, so
Yeah.
yes, that is definitely an option for this machine.
Yeah. Is there a way to harness the heat from the machine and then use that for something else useful, or to generate electricity or something like that?
Yes, there is. Air burners in Florida. Initially, I went to them and asked them if they'd make one of the machines. They said no. Their focus was on generating electricity. So they have, opposite where you load, they have a machine with a big air scoop that scoops up hot air off the top of the machine, and they make electricity. I think they can make up to 500 kilowatts off each machine. So yeah, amazing, but very clever. There's a lot of money and effort that's been put into that. A little bit beyond my capabilities, but yes,
It might be an add-on that you might be able to buy that add-on and install that on top of yours. If your machine is used at a stationary location, say like at a council dump where it's not getting moved around, then that kind of installation could happen, and then that's another revenue stream to keep the machine running, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And you can have an electric digger. You wouldn't have to have a diesel digger, and
Yes.
the machine itself would be electricity. Would have an AC motor at the front of it rather than a diesel motor.
You could be building a future electric-powered version.
Oh, absolutely. There's absolutely for a stationary machine working in a council type environment. Yeah, that would absolutely be an option.
Okay. What do you think the chances are to demonstrate your machine at field days where you can actually have big logs of wood being put into it? Would they ever let you do that, do you think?
I don't know. That'd be cool. That'd be pretty groovy because a lot of farmers and a lot of contractors go to the field days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just getting that mass there, all the biomass there to burn. That would be the full. It's a 4-day event, and so that's a lot of mass to get through if you're getting through 10 cubic meters an hour. But maybe
Yeah, it'd probably be
but
a
everything.
one-time demonstration that's well publicized as a feature, like when they do tractor racing or something like that. It's just be a one-time thing where you light it up and it gets going and people can feel the heat and whatever, and they have an hour to kind of check it out, and that's it, and then you switch it off. How long does it take to kind of get up to temperature and get going?
It depends on your feedstock, but within half an hour, you don't see any smoke. So on startup, you get a bit of smoke. We start it with a couple of litres of diesel. We spread over the top of some good dry, smaller wood. So you got to burn off the diesel, and then you got to get a fire going, and then you slowly bring up the engine speed to get more. Yeah, so within half an hour, you're burning really clean. The longest part is waiting for it to die down if you're not using the machine for a 24-hour period. It takes sort of an hour and a half to 2 hours for it to burn down to a safe point that you can leave it.
Oh, okay.
So my workings would be to have the machine working 5 days a week for 24 hours. Then you get the most, and then have Saturday for maintenance and Sunday for a day off, and then hook into it again on Monday morning. That would be the best way of making the machine work. And
yeah, because I guess if there's no way to extinguish the fire, like with water or anything like that, that'll be bad for the refractory, won't it?
yeah, the refractory is really hot. It's not ideal to do that sort of stuff. No, I'm sure there's a way we could do something, but the embers are contained. Like the fire, I have spoken to the fire service because when we first lit it, it was September of this year, and there was a fire ban on, but they deemed it as a contained incinerator. so it wasn't an open fire. So that was a bonus. You do get the odd ember pop out the top if you're overloading it, if you're filling it too much, or it's full and then you drop something too high. You can get an ember pop out the top. You do have to have it, like your burning pile's fine. You've got to have it close to your burning pile so you can swing around with the digger, but you need to be 100 meters away really from the rest of the forest or something like that.
Okay. And does it need an operator on the machine itself all the time, or is it pretty much push the button and it puts the air curtain constant all the time, or is there someone that has to regulate it?
No. You pretty much fire it up and it goes, and the person working it is loading the machine with the digger and checking the product coming out. You're not constantly loading it. You're putting small amounts in often, so you've got time to get out of the digger, have a walk around, check everything, maybe change the bag if you filled up a 1,000-litre bag of char. Last week when we were working with so much black sand in the wood, we had to clear out the water bath that we were sucking water out to quench the char, but the sand was getting into the water bath because that's underneath the travelator at the back. So we just had to get rid of the sand out of the bath occasionally. Yeah, there's time for all of that. It's time to check your
so
phone.
It's basically a one-person operation then can operate the whole thing.
Yes, yeah. It has a camera on it on a stick because the burn box is higher than what you are, so it's got a big camera that's 4 meters up above the machine, and then there's a screen in the digger so you can see what's going on in the fire pit.
So the machine operator in his digger, he can't actually see inside it at all, usually?
No, he can't. No.
So he has to look at the camera feed on some kind of device inside his cab. Yeah.
So he's got a screen inside his digger, which Bluetooths to the camera, which is up the pole.
Okay. So does it get hot there where the camera is? Like, did you have to muck around to get it?
Yeah, we had to set that back. Yeah, we had to set that back away at the far end of the machine on the other side of the motor.
How many cameras did you mount?
No, we didn't burn any cameras actually. We're still on the first camera. It's great.
Oh, okay.
we have melted other things though. We've melted lights. We've overheated hydraulic oil where we had motors and hoses too close to the heat. Now the radiated heat's phenomenal. Heat. We knew nothing about working with heat really, so we've learned so much. Yeah.
It's like a real fun project, real interesting. Yeah. Yeah, how is the Kai product going? Is that ticking over guys? Doing a lot of work, or do you have to market it heaps?
We're not marketing that product yet until we get it validated by MPI.
Okay.
Yeah. So because to ramp that up, that stuff has to be made in a decent pyrolysis machine. It's going to be a certified product, so that's going to have to be made by pine chip, specific size chip, which will be dried to a specific moisture content from the beginning before it's mixed with the other minerals and then cooked. So that's going to be a much more precise system than what the other machine is. So that's a real investment to get that going once we've got that recipe validated by MPI.
Okay. Yep. So that product's not actually available for a farmer to actually start buying.
No, it's not at the moment. No.
Do you think it's going to take a couple of years to get it to market, or even longer than 2 years?
Yeah, probably a couple of years. Yeah, it will do. Southern Carbon are doing a great job with their product. They've got a really good biochar, and I believe they're selling a lot of it to farmers down there for an animal feed supplement. But that's just straight biochar, and it seems to be doing a good job. And they've been great for the biochar industry of New Zealand. They've really stuck their neck out and put their money where their mouth is as well, and they're doing great.
Yeah, I've been trying to get them onto the podcast, but they're too busy. Yeah.
I would love to go down and see their operation. Yeah, because they're doing good stuff down there.
Yeah, they're about 2 hours from me. I wish it was a bit closer even for me so that I could spend a bit more time there and help out if I can and stuff. But
there's nothing much. There's nothing much closer to a Tarpary.
No, well, there's Riverton and Invercargill and Gore, but Yeah, Gore's not close. But yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world down here too. So
It is.
you have to do a road trip in your caravan and come down and have a look.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Not next year. The year after that, I'm down there on my motorbike. Definitely.
Okay.
I head up at the Indian Motorcycle Riders Club rally. So we've got a rally happening in Nelson on 2027. So then we'll do a trip to the Burt Munro after that with a bunch of people. So yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great ride out through BiocharTP around down the bottom of the coast.
Yeah, it's great. All right, let's go to a couple other last questions. What do you know about the Biochar Network New Zealand?
Yep, I'm a member, and I had sponsored a fair bit to enable us to have signage at the field days and some brochures and things. So yeah, good that it's part of the ANZBIG because they've just got so much resource there in Australia. So it's good that it's got a tight connection with ANZBIG.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm planning to come to the field days next year, so I hope we're going to have the same biochar stall there, and then I'll hopefully get to meet you and see your machine too if it's there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that'll be great.
Is there anything else you'd like to chat about today?
No, not really. It's just we do have to brainstorm a bit more about how to get it out into the market some more, but right now, like the chaps down there at Southern Carbon, they're doing a great job by just getting it out there and getting it amongst the people, and it's doing its own thing. It's speaking for itself. But yeah, we're coming from a place where we really want it validated first. So, but it's a slow process to get that done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just have to grow some and spend some more money, like Andrew and them have as Southern Carbon. It's a big commitment.
Yeah. It's a little bit sad that the government agencies aren't getting way behind this and really helping new businesses like yourselves and Andrew and Tula's get behind it and give it lots of support. But good on you both for putting your own money into it and being patient and persevering. So
the government really don't have a good eye on it, do they? It is a real shame. It's just too many bureaucrats, and it just hasn't been taken seriously by them enough yet. We did have a great meeting with MPI after the Residues to Revenue conference that Phil organised. That was a good meeting. At least they were listening. They're starting to listen at least. It's getting some momentum now. They're starting for them to take it seriously. But unfortunately, they're just... The other problem is, I mean, we keep talking about this, but there hasn't been people out there who have put their money where their mouth is, like Andrew and Tulula, and who've really gone out to make it commercially available. It's one thing to say it's going to do it, but unless people can go and buy the stuff and use it, well then, you can't make enough in your backyard for a dairy farmer with 600 cows. We need investment.
Yeah,
the industry needs to invest for it to be taken seriously, because at the moment, it's just there's a lot of people making a small amount in the backyard, and which is lovely, because it's a great product and it's really neat, but it's unfortunately government and industry aren't going to take it seriously if it can't be bought in commercial volumes.
Yeah, it's the chicken and egg situation, really. Yeah,
it is. Ruby,
all right, thanks very much, Raymond, for your time.
you take care. All the best. Thank you. Cheers.
You too. Cheers. Bye.